Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 5090 O-Level Biology, New Syllabus 2023, Specimen Paper 1, and this is the first video on that. In the new syllabus, the paper 1 multiple choice is stayed exactly the same. There's only slight difference in naturally the syllabus things that have been added. There is no questions on that we have seen previously. But this is 509001. The timing has remained the same, 1 hour, and there are 40 questions in it. So everything is the same except the content would be slightly variable because of the new chapters that have been added to it. Now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, let's start with question number 1. Which structures are found in animal cells and in plant cells? Mitochondria, yes, present in both animal and plant cells. Cell wall is only present in plant cells, so this is wrong. Ribosomes are present in animal cells and plant cells. Sap vacuole would only be present in plant cells. So it has to be 1 and 3. So that is why the answer is A. 1 and 3. Cell wall is only, sap vacuole is only in plant cells. Then coming to question number 2. A student draws a red blood cell. The drawing is 20 millimeter in diameter. Always be sure that you are comparing the same units. The red blood cell is actually 0.008. So the magnification is what? Image over actual. So the image drawing is 20 millimeter in diameter. So this is image and this is the actual. The red blood cell is actually 0.00. So image over actual 20 and it's 0.0 millimeter. So the units must be the same. You must always keep the units the same. If it is in centimeter, then both should be in centimeter. What is the magnification of the cell? You just solve it and it is 2500. So easy way to do it is magnification is equal to image over actual. And so 20 over 0.00, because that was given in the question, the information. Now coming to question number 3, the diagram shows some of the features used to classify animals in the phylum Arthropods. In the diagram, which letter A, B, C or D could represent insects? Now insect is one further classification of arthropods. But basically it has 3 main regions of the body and 3 pairs of legs and 1 pair of antennae, so the answer is A. But I'll just revise this with you in a minute. Basically, arthropods have an exoskeleton and joints, and most common the arthropods have a segmented body covered by head, outer skeleton, many pairs of legs. And the different sub-classifications are insects, crustaceans, arachnids, and arthropods. Insects are 6-legged arthropods. Crustaceans live in water and on land. Arachnids are 8-legged arthropods. And millipedes and centipedes, of course, every segment has these legs to it. So it has got many legs to it. Then another very easy way of remembering it is arthropod, jointed appendages, segmented body, exoskeleton made of chitin, classified by number of legs and body segments. So just a quick revision for you all. Which process can only occur through a membrane? Now, diffusion, perfume reaching your nose, which of course is crossing a membrane there, but if you take a beaker of water and add ink to it, there's diffusion. That does not require any membrane. So diffusion does not require, may or may not be present. So then you come to the last choices could only be C and D. It says which process can only occur through a membrane. So diffusion can occur as it is also. If you just take a beaker of water and add some dye to it, a red dye or a yellow dye or a blue dye. So the answer is C. Why? Because active transport can only occur across a membrane. If you look at my new videos which I have on this, there has to be a channel protein, and the channel protein is going to pump from a low concentration to a high concentration. Similarly, in osmosis, water has to move from a higher water potential to a lower water potential across a cell membrane or a partially permeable membrane. So it had to be C because active transport you need a membrane and osmosis you need a membrane. Now coming to question number 5, a student cuts 4 cylinders from a potato. Each cylinder is 30 millimeter long. The cylinders are all of the same diameter. The potato cylinders are placed in sugar solutions of different concentrations. After 1 hour, the length of the cylinders are measured again. The results are shown in the table. Which sugar solution has a water potential closest to that of the potato cells? Now let's look at the theory behind it. There's the potato cells have a concentration of 2%, whatever solute in it. Now if it is 2% outside, then of course what is going to happen? There's going to be no net movement of water. So there is going to be, I said, no net movement of water. But say if it is 1.9%, then some water is going to enter, and maybe this is going to get a little longer. But if it is going to be 1.5%, then more water is going to enter, it's going to get more longer. So the length will increase more. Now here you have to see the starting length was all 30 in all of them. And this is the least in which it has length after 1 hour has gone up by 1. Here it has gone down by 3, here it has gone down. So look at the difference, 3, 4, 3 and 1. Even if the difference was 29, and if that was, then I would have said that was the case. 29 or 31 would have been the same thing. But here it is of course 3, 1, 3, 4. Difference is increase in difference or decrease in difference. So that is why the answer is B, because that has been which solution has a water potential closest to that of the potato cells. So understand why am I saying B. Question 6. An area of grass plants become flooded with seawater. Seawater contains a higher concentration of salt than the root hair cells of the grass plants. Now imagine this 2% inside, 4% outside the root hair cell. Now what is the effect of the seawater, the function of the root hairs? Now first heading is uptake of ions by root hairs. Now that will always occur. Why? Because that is active transport, it's not on a concentration gradient, so it can be either C or D. Now uptake of water by root hair cells, now how would that occur? Uptake of water occurs down the water potential gradient, but 4% has a lower water potential. So there will be no uptake of root hair cells. So uptake of water by root hair cells will not occur, so that is why this would be the answer C. Question 7. Large biological molecules are made from smaller molecules. This is again new in the syllabus. Which row shows the correct molecules? So we have starch, we have protein, and we have lipid, and we have DNA. Now if you look at DNA, only that will tell you that nucleotides is only the correct answer, so the answer would be D. But if you didn't do it like this, I would do it into another way. I would say, okay, let's look at lipids. Lipids are made up of fatty acids and glycerol, so this could be correct or this could be correct. Proteins are made of amino acids. These are both correct. These are all wrong. Then starch is not made of fatty acids. It's made of glucose. Yes, this could be correct. It's not made of nucleotides. It is made of glucose. So that is why the answer is D. Now coming on to question number 8. Enzymes action can be explained by the lock and key hypothesis. Which row is correct for the active site and for the substrate? So active site is on the enzyme. So this is correct, these are wrong. So these are the ones that we cancel out. You see, you always do this is first you cancel out the entirely wrong ones and then you read the correct ones and then you narrow down. Active site is on the substrate. No, it's never on the substrate. Substrate is the lock. No, that's wrong. Substrate is not the lock. So substrate is the key. Yes, that is correct. So the answer is B. Pause the video here, have a look at it again and then decide. Of course, you should download this specimen before and attempt the paper before you actually watch this video. So the rule is that you download this paper, you print this paper, you print the paper and you attempt it. Attempt the paper before you actually look at this video. And you can get this specimen from, just search it in the Google search and you'll find this specimen. It's of course available on the Cambridge site as well. Now question number 9, the diagram shows an experiment. The diagram shows an experiment to find the rate of photosynthesis. Now rate of photosynthesis, please remember, it's an enzyme controlled reaction. And in an aquatic plant in different conditions. Which plant produces the most bubbles per minute? In A, you can see the lamp, then the aquatic plant and the water. So this is the difference. This is the distance between the lamp and the aquatic plant. Then of course here the distance is nearer, so more light intensity. But here we have something. We have ice here, and because it's an enzyme controlled reaction, so this has got ice in it as well. So these two are totally wrong because ice would mean the enzymes would just not work. So now we only have the choices between A and B. Now because here the light intensity is more, because the lamp is nearer to the aquatic plant, so that is why the answer would be B. Question 10. A student grows young plants in 4 different test tubes. Tube W contains all the mineral ions. So this one contains all the mineral ions, all ions. W contains, so this is healthy growth. This is we're going to compare it with. The diagram shows the appearance of plants after 2 weeks. So we have healthy growth, X little growth, poor growth, yellow leaves, very little growth. Now it says, what do tubes X, Y and Z contain? A contains, A in A says X contains all the minerals except magnesium ions, all the minerals except nitrate ions, water only. All the minerals except magnesium ions, all the minerals except nitrate ions, water only, all minerals. So just read all of it, right? But what is the point which is going to tell you what is the correct answer? Now the clue is that Y has to have all minerals except magnesium ions. Why? Because there's poor growth and yellow leaves. And this is very little growth. So this has to be water only. And C has little growth, all minerals except nitrate ions. Nitrates are important for proteins, for amino acids and proteins. So the answer is C, because we had little growth here. We have growth but little growth. So maybe the nitrate ions were absent. Here magnesium has to be absent. Why? And there's very little growth, so probably just only water it contains. So that is why the answer is C. Now question 11. Which row shows how the rate of transpiration changes? Does it decrease, increase, decrease, whatever, when conditions in the atmosphere change? Now reduced wind. So remember, there's a leaf, water vapors diffusing out. When there is more wind, then the water vapors are carried away. So a gradient is maintained and transpiration. So if there is reduced wind, then what is going to happen? If there's reduced wind and there's still water vapors outside the leaf, then none is going to move out because there's already such a high concentration of water vapors outside the leaf. So the rate of transpiration must decrease. So it can be this or this. Now when there's increased humidity means what? Increased humidity means that the leaf, say this is a leaf, and inside also we have water vapors, and outside also we have a lot of water vapors. So increased humidity outside as well. So it's going to the rate of transpiration is going to decrease. So that is why the answer is A, because reduced wind also decreases and increased humidity also decreases. So the answer is going to be A. Now question 12. Which foods can be eaten to prevent scurvy, anemia and rickets? So, what are they asking you? Scurvy is deficiency of vitamin C. Anemia is iron deficiency. Rickets is deficiency of calcium and vitamin D. So, scurvy, if it's vitamin C deficiency, you get it in oranges and lemons. So, it could be either C or D. Now, anemia is iron. Iron is more in red meat. And rickets is milk, cheese and milk food, of course. So the answer is D. Easy question, not very difficult. Then coming to question number 13. The diagram shows parts of the human digestive system and associated organs. Which part would contain high concentration of glucose and amino acid 4 hours after eating a meal? Now, as you all know, the high concentration of glucose and amino acids would only be in the hepatic portal vein. So the hepatic portal vein is this vessel that you are showing, which is connecting the intestine to the liver. So the answer had to be D. So hepatic portal vein, because it says 4 hours after eating. So that means digestion has also taken place and absorption has also taken place. So will be high concentrations of glucose and amino acids which are carried in the hepatic portal vein to the liver. This is the liver. So the tube or the vessel which is connecting the intestines to the liver has to be the hepatic portal vein, and that would be D. Question 14. What is the approximate percentage of carbon dioxide in expired air released by a human? So the answer to that is C, 4%, because as it is, you see the air entering as point something, and then it increases to 4% because of the entire carbon dioxide being exhaled out in the expired air. Question 15. What are the products of aerobic respiration in animals and plants? Aerobic respiration. What are the products of aerobic respiration in animals and plants? So the answer is B, carbon dioxide and water. You see, if you don't know the equation, only then you can make a mistake in this. But aerobic respiration is what? Glucose plus oxygen gives you what? Carbon dioxide plus water plus energy released. And I said plus energy released. I didn't say energy produced. It's energy released. Question 16. The diagram shows apparatus used to investigate the rate of respiration of germinating pea seeds. You see a capillary tube with an internal diameter of 1.0 millimeter, graduated scale, 20 grams of germinating pea seeds, wire mesh, and a chemical to absorb the carbon dioxide. Please remember, we're studying respiration. So what is respiration going to do is use up the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So it's going to use up the oxygen, and the carbon dioxide which is going to be produced is going to be absorbed by this chemical. In an experiment, the colored oil drop moved 24 millimeter to the left in 30 minutes. So 24 millimeter in 30 minutes. Calculate the rate of respiration of the pea seeds in millimeter cube of oxygen per gram of pea seeds. So remember, 20 grams of pea seeds we have. So 24 millimeter, 30 minutes, 20 grams. Assume that pi is 3.0. Now let's look at the working. The working is slightly intense. I mean, when I started doing it also, I got it wrong in the first instance. Now, this of course, I've added this formula here. This was not given in the question, but you are expected to know what is the cylinder volume formula, and is equal to V volume is equal to area of the cylinder pi r square H. Now, H would be the length of the column. This movement here would be H. So H would be this which has moved here, and H would be the 24 millimeter. So if we now add the formula pi r square, now but the diameter was also given here 1 millimeter, 1.0 millimeter. So the radius would be 0.5 millimeter. So that is why pi they've asked us to take is 3.0. So 3.0 here into 0.5 whole square into 24, and this would give us 18. But then this was in 30 minutes, and we have to calculate per minute. So per minute calculation would mean that you divide it by 30, this is equal to 0.6. But then this was 20 grams, and you had to find out millimeter cube of oxygen per gram per minute. So then 0.6 divided by 20, and this gets you 0.03, and the answer is A. I know this is a little difficult, but please do this question first, and then of course come to it, and then look at my explanation and understand it why the answer is like this. I hope it has made it clear to you all, and I hope it's better now. Now coming to question number 17, what is the sequence of contractions in one heartbeat? Left atrium, left ventricle, and left ventricle together, pause, right atrium, right ventricle together, left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle, pause. Right atrium and left atrium together, yes. Please remember the heart contracts as a whole. So right atrium and left atrium contract, and then the blood goes into the ventricles. And then this valves close, the valves here and the valves here, they will close. And then of course these will contract and blood will flow out of the ventricles. So answer is C, right atrium and left atrium together, right ventricle, left ventricle together, and then there's a pause. So both the atrias contract together, blood goes into the ventricles, and then the valves close, and both the ventricles then pump out blood out of the ventricles. Now coming to question number 18, the diagram shows a section through part of a vein. Direction 1. You know, your veins are going to be carrying blood like this because the valves are in this direction. But they sort of confused you a bit, and they've said, okay, direction 2. Now, as I look at this question, I mean, when I did it the first time, I got it wrong because it's a little difficult in comprehension. The diagram shows, you see, you look at my truthfulness, I accepted that I got it wrong the first time. How many of you would be truthful to accept that, you know, you're not studying well, and you need to put in more effort and you need to understand it? I always say the biggest art of a good student or a good human being is being truthful and honest about what they're doing with their lives. The diagram shows a section to part of a vein, direction 1, direction 2. Now, a very easy way to do this would have been direction 1 and direction 2. So let's use two different colors and then we can figure this out, I think, better. In direction 1, if I write here heart, and if I write here brain, the first A. So yes, there is a vein which will connect the brain to the heart, because of course from the brain the blood is going to go into the superior vena cava and then it is going to be carried to the heart and empty in the right atrium. So heart is, all the atrias are the right and the left atrias are the heart. So the answer is A, which is correct. But then let's look at the wrong ones, because I want you to understand why B, C, and D are wrong. So let's look at B, C, and now look at why B is wrong. You see, it says direction 2 is liver and direction 1 is intestine. Now the blood, there is no blood vessel which is a vein which connects the liver to the intestine. It's the other way around. If it had said in direction 2, they had said intestine, and direction 1, they had said liver, then it would have been correct, because intestine and liver are connected, because the direction is in this direction. The intestine and the liver are connected by the hepatic portal vein. That is a vein. So if intestine was written here and liver were written here, then of course this answer would have been correct. Now why is C wrong? Because direction 1 here you have liver, and direction 2 here you have heart. The blood vessel from the heart to the liver is an artery, the hepatic artery, which arises from the aorta. And why is D wrong? Because in direction 2 we have the heart and here we have the lung. Now if you remember, the heart and the lung is connected by the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery connects the heart with the lung. That's not a vein. Here it is saying it's part of a vein. So I've explained to you why B, C, and D are wrong and why A is correct. And please always do this working like I'm doing. Or you can do the working on the paper. It's allowed by Cambridge. You can do rough work, because these papers stay here. Your answer sheet only goes to Cambridge. Then coming to question number 19, what is the difference between the contents of plasma and the contents of tissue fluid? You see, when they said plasma and tissue fluid, never is there no thing. It will always have some glucose in it, because what is happening out of the capillaries? This is the capillary. So plasma is inside, and outside we have the body cells, and the fluid surrounding the body cells is the tissue fluid. So if the plasma has 100 glucose, then 100 comes out, but then after some time maybe the 100 is only 80, because some of it has diffused into the body cell. But there can't be any no. And here, if this no was wrong, this no white blood cells is wrong again. And so we left with B and C. Now it says here less dissolved glucose and more dissolved tissue fluid cannot have more dissolved glucose. So that is why by, sort of the extinction method, or you can come out with the answer which is C, more protein molecules, fewer protein molecules. Yes, even you would think that protein molecules do not come out. Yes, you're right. But some small molecules can enter the tissue fluid. So that is why the answer is C for question number 19. Now coming to question number 20, which statement describes an example of active immunity? Antibodies pass through the placenta from the blood of a mother to the blood of a fetus, giving the baby immunity. Now this is passive immunity. This is natural passive immunity. So this is passive immunity. So this is wrong. A person is given an example, antibiotics. Antibiotics are chemicals that kill bacteria. So this is wrong again. D, the clotting of blood prevents disease-causing bacteria entering the circulatory system. Well, that is of course a way of protecting the body, but that is not active immunity. So that is why the answer is C. A person is given an injection of antigens from pathogens that cause a disease, and after this the body produces antibodies against these pathogens. Then coming to question number 21, which words all describe the organism that causes malaria? Microscope, parasitic, sexually transmitted, microscopic, parasite, pathogen, mosquito, pathogen. As soon as it says mosquito, well, that is a vector. So that could not be So the answer is B. Microscopic parasitic pathogen, and it is a protoctist. Question 22. Which action can prevent the spread of the HIV? You know, it's a STD, sexually transmitted disease. So the answer is D. The rest of it is all wrong, and that is not going to be the reasons of it. Then coming to question number 23. Question number 23. Which row matches the parts of the urinary system to their function? Removes urine from the body. I would look at that. So the answer is C. Makes urine kidney, carries urine ureter, holds the urine bladder, and removes urine is urethra. Question number 24. Which action is not an example of a simple reflex action? Now, reflex actions are automatic responses to a stimulus. So you look at all these, and blinking when sand blows in your eyes, that is a stimulus, and then something your response. Jumping when you hear a loud noise is the stimulus, jumping is the response. Removing your hand from a hot object, stimulus. Now, D is the only one which is something which you're doing because you stopped a car at a road junction. There's no stimulus while you're just driving and there's a road junction and you stop to see if any car is coming from any side. So that is why it's not a simple reflex action. So answer is D. Then we come on to question number 25. A person is reading a book in a room with low light intensity. Which row shows the state of the eye muscles? Now you've got to realize is low light intensity. So pupil is large. So the radial muscles have contracted. These are the two situations that this has to be relaxed. So answer can either be B or D. But then you're reading a book. When you're reading a book, it's near. When it's near, the lens is more convex. If you look at my videos on this, NMC, near, more convex. So in order for the lens to be more convex, there is a ciliary muscle which is attached to it. And then there are the suspensory ligaments which are holding it. Now, in order to become more convex, it has to contract. The ciliary muscle has to contract. So it becomes a smaller circle so that the pressure on the lens is released and the lens becomes more convex. So that is why the answer is B. Now, question number 26. Which structures are all involved in controlling human body temperature? Or involved. Human body temperature, if the room is hot or the room is cold, you enter the room, and how will the body respond to it? So I would look at it, the kidneys are nothing to do with it. So wherever which has kidneys, I would say wrong. And then pituitary gland is also not involved in it. So the only answer is B. Blood vessels near the skin surface, hypothalamus and muscles. So I would do this by elimination. I will finish the video here and we will continue in the second video, whatever questions are left of it. There are about 14 questions still left to go. So thank you for watching, and please do subscribe, and please see that you are notified about any new videos which come up. If you're taking the exam even next June, you need to be starting to work on these specimen papers. Thank you once again.